That's the sweet sound of Minute Maid slushies at McDonald's, turning up your summer with every sip, slurp, and ah.
Get a small sweet peach, blue raspberry, or fruit punch slushie for just $2. Or get any size soft drink for $1. Price and participation may vary. Limited time only. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
Football represents something we are.
Football is like life. You gotta push.
Fantasy football is about proving that you are better than your friends.
Hold up.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Faceoff,
I'm gonna do what's best for the team.
where fantasy meets reality.
Pure fantasy football nirvana.
And now your hosts,
Let the games begin.
Anthony Cervino and Michael Hauff.
Welcome back, everybody, to the FF Faceoff. It's a podcast for fantasy meets reality, and of course, we are proudly brought to you by the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, the best.
My name is Michael Hauff. You can follow me on Twitter at the FF Realist. My partner in crime is Anthony Cervino. He can be followed at the Real NFL Guru. Anthony, how's by you on this lively day, I guess, for us? What's going here?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I was a little late on the sound drop, and the audio had a little bit of a rough patch getting into it, but I think we're good moving forward.
What the?
But we have good news.
Yes, we do. You're excited about it. Do you want? Go ahead. You do the honors.
We tested. All right, guys. We tested out before the show a live call-in line. So if anybody who was tuning in live wants to call and wants to be a part of the show, if you want to comment on one of our takes, if you have one of your own takes, or if you want to ask a question, this is going to be great in season. You can call our call-in line, and God willing, it'll work. And this is going to be a great feature for the show and for all of you.
Absolutely. I'm excited about it. Anthony's very excited about it. I hope you know this means this opens up the door to more people to make fun of you about the Cowboys than just me.
That's okay.
You know, like when they make it to the divisional round and then lose, like you're opening yourself up to that.
Or when they go on their Super Bowl run.
How about them Cowboys?
No, this isn't 95, man. I'm just, okay. Anyway, so, very exciting stuff. But yeah, today we're going to be doing a little bit of either or, which, we're going to compare a couple of different players, talk about some ADP, fantasy football, all that good stuff. Anthony, really quick, actually, just to backtrack to the phone line. Do we want to give them the number now or do we want to wait?
I mean, I kind of want to give the number out in case anybody wants that. We had an impromptu show yesterday, and maybe if anybody wants to, give us an impromptu caller when we're not ready, that's fine.
Okay, so why don't you give them the number then?
The number is 845-535-9962. 845-535-9962.
Fantastic.
And
all right,
we will put this all over social media for future shows, but this just happened to all come together right before we came on the show today.
Good times. Yeah, very exciting stuff. And we've got other stuff cooking when we can't really talk about right now, but pretty exciting times here in the last half hour for the FF Faceoff. So there you go. But Anthony, before we go any further, we do have to do our usual housekeeping. So let's get a little public service announcement from his lordship.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
All right, guys, you know the drill. If you like today's episode and subscribe to the channel, please leave us a comment saying that you have subscribed. And once you're done, we will reply back to as many as we can to show our appreciation to you. And I always like to remind you, if you want to help support the show, you can engage and interact with us right now as you're listening or as you're watching. You don't even have to press the pause button. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star rating and a 5-star review, telling everyone why you love the show. If you're listening or watching anywhere else, subscribe, hit the alert icon so you can be notified anytime that we are live or upload. Like and share our content. And, of course, tell everybody you know, family, friends, coworkers about the FF Faceoff, because the more people we can reach, the more people we can help win fantasy football championships. And, of course, if you ever want to skip to certain talking points in the show, go to the description, check out the timestamps, and it will take you to where you want to go.
All right. There you go. Good stuff. All right. So, Anthony, listen, we did a little bit of a news show yesterday. So if there's anything that you guys want to hear in regards to anything that might have broke yesterday, feel free to go back to that show. Anthony, though, we should mention that at least for fantasy purposes, the 49ers did finally sign their first and second round draft pick. First round pick, of course, was Nick Bosa, but Deebo Samuel gets signed as well. So he will be there in camp on time, thankfully, because I would think that if there's any offensive system that you don't want to be late to the party on, it would be Kyle Shanahan's. Really quick, because we haven't discussed Deebo too much, and we are going to talk a little bit of 49ers wide receivers in a little bit. What is your – and listen, we all know Dynasty, of course, you would want Deebo Samuel. But in a redraft league this year, what's your level of excitement here for Deebo Samuel?
Cautiously optimistic. I mean, okay. I understand that he is the projected starting wide receiver in two wide sets, right? And Trent Taylor could open the year in the slot. And then, of course, you have Dante Pettis on the other side. I mean, I guess I'll buy into him a little bit. I'd rather get my hands on a DK Metcalf.
Right.
But Deebo Samuel is going a little bit later in fantasy drafts. I might take a chance on him, absolutely, in dynasty leagues and in best ball. If I am in a deeper redraft league, yeah, I'll take a shot on Deebo Samuel, but I don't know what I'm going to get out of him. With George Kittle eating up targets, Dante Pettis eating up targets, Trent Taylor's going to get a few.
Right, I was going to mention that next.
Hendrick Bourne still on the roster, who was, second or third in receptions on the team?
He was, today I had so I'll say this. First things first, it was Kendrick Bourne was second in targets with, I believe, 42 last year.
Okay.
To second to George Kittle's 88. But I bring that up because Matt Mayoko, who's a beat writer for the 49ers out there, he had said that somebody asked him about Trent Taylor, who, for folks who don't know, Trent Taylor in his sophomore season dealt with a lot of back issues, wasn't very productive at all. Matt Mayoko was of the mindset that Trent Taylor is going to be working a lot out of the slot and that he could lead the team in receptions, to which one person commented, not a chance. And to me, to say not a chance on a team in which, yes, I know Kittle had 88 targets or receptions, whatever, but to go ahead and say that there's no shot on that offense, wide receivers aren't exactly stacked. I get it. There's optimism. I think Deebo breaks late. Pettis, I think, will be very boom or bust, but when he's boom, he'll be great for you. And then there's Marquise Goodwin. We'll give you a little something to love every now and again. So, I mean, to say that there's not a shot that Trent Taylor could lead this team in receptions seems a bit much to me. Is it likely? But stranger things have happened.
Due to the inexperience, because between Deebo Samuel and Dante Pettis, they have a combined career 30 receptions.
Huh.
Trent Taylor battles injuries.
Yeah.
Marquise Goodwin battles concussions and injuries and off the field personal issues.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Then you have Jordan Matthews.
Oh,
Then you have Jordan Matthews.
I'm going to go get the whiskey.
Who could not only make the team, but I believe Jordan Matthews, if he makes the team, is going to be a lot busier than people anticipate because he's a veteran. You can't just throw to rookies and second-year players and expect to succeed. The veteran of this group is Jordan Matthews, and I know you don't want to hear that.
Thought we were going to have a nice, calm show. Thought you weren't going to drive me to drink, but here we are. Thank you for that.
Can we call 2019 the resurrection of Jordan Matthews?
All right. First things first. Little shout out to Montauk Whiskey. Fantastic whiskey. Second thing, no, we cannot. And third thing,
Jordan Matthews is going to come from the dead.
I will place a bet that Jordan Matthews doesn't even make this 53-man roster.
I mean, the last report that I saw that he is going to make the roster, or the beat writer believes he's going to make the roster.
Okay. All right. That's fine. You could tell me any report you heard. I'm willing to bet you now that Jordan Matthews does not make the 53-man roster.
Okay.
You'll make that bet?
Absolutely, we'll make that bet.
All right. Fantastic. There you go. Riveting bet to kick things off. So with that all being said, any other notable news that we had today, quickly before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show? Anthony, anything else worth mentioning that we didn't mention yesterday?
Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, yes, was not on the plane when the team was leaving for California. Now, it should be mentioned, Jane Slater had mentioned on her Twitter that there are some players sometimes that don't make the flight and they still meet the team there. So he could still show up, but it adds a little bit more drama to the situation. So, Anthony, you are the resident Cowboy guy, so anything?
Zeke has what? 24 hours, less than 24 hours to show up.
Yeah.
It's not abnormal for a player to do things on his own, but Ezekiel Elliott is not your normal specimen with some of the decisions that he makes.
All right. So
it would be in his best interest, like we've said, for Ezekiel Elliott to report to training camp.
Agreed. All right. So with that being said, I'm just going to run through a couple quick notes here, Anthony. At the end, if there's anything you want to discuss, let me know. If not, we'll get into our show. Miles Sanders did go through practice today, so there's that. A lot of folks are worried about him. Aaron Rodgers was talking up Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Hooray for me. Anything else here worthwhile? There's questions about TJ Yeldon being the odd man out in the very crowded Buffalo Bills backfield. And apparently there's going to be no restrictions for Carson Wentz at camp. I think those seem like the most relevant things to bring up. Anthony, anything to mention on those few nuggets, or you want to get on with the show?
MVS has been talked up a lot this offseason by Aaron Rodgers, but I'm still going to buy in Geronimo Allison.
And we have a bet on that, by the way.
We do.
Yes, we do. So there you go. It's going to be interesting. Who's going to come out of there? I'm going to go Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Obviously, Anthony's going with Geronimo. I don't know if we ever did a poll on that. We should do a poll on that, actually. That may work well. All right, Anthony, let's get on with the show. By the way, if any of you are watching on Periscope, I've got Periscope on down here. So if you comment, I will answer. I see some of you are in there. If not, no worries. And if I miss it, sorry. All right, Anthony. So a little bit of either or, this or that. You say tomato, I say tomato. We're going to compare a couple players here who are fairly close in ADP. First one I want to bring up is Derrick Henry, who right now is going with the 7th pick of the 3rd round, or Kerryon Johnson going with the 11th pick of the 3rd round. So pretty close. Anthony, really quick, back in March, there were reports that the Titans wanted to build the offense around Henry. On July 16th, we had heard reports that there's going to be a very heavy workload. He's entering his contract year. The only real, as far as I'm concerned, the only really bad thing that we've heard about Derrick Henry so far is the fact that the news yesterday, which we discussed on our impromptu show, is that Taylor Lewin is going to be suspended for the first 4 games of 2019. The very talented offensive lineman for the Tennessee Titans. He'll be eligible to return in a Week 5 home game against the Buffalo Bills. Anthony, I always think, if I find it fascinating, I don't know if I've said it on the show, I've said it on Twitter, there was always this. People were always so high on Derrick Henry his first couple of years in the league, and he would underperform. His ADP was always high. Folks always wanted they wanted to wish that into reality. I think it was, who was it? DeMarco Murray might have been there when Derrick Henry first got there.
Yes.
And they wanted to just wish DeMarco Murray off the roster. Now, Derrick Henry is the main man in that backfield. He's coming off of his best year last year. Granted, I know he started slow, but the end of the year was awesome, where he got the bulk of his carries, which sounds like from reports they want to just bleed last season into this season as far as his workload is concerned. But now it seems like folks are kind of down on Derrick Henry. We'll get to Kerryon Johnson in just a moment, but Anthony, what are your overall thoughts here on Derrick Henry?
You know my thoughts on Derrick Henry. Another player I am cautiously optimistic about, especially early on in the season, because will the Tennessee Titans finally commit to giving Derrick Henry the football enough times to where he can get going?
You aren't convinced by what he got last year towards the end of the season? That workload? Or no? Or do you, or whatever?
I mean, Mike, in 2017, it's what I picked up. In the final, 4 games, 17 carries, 33 carries, 21 carries, 16 carries. So it's not like he hasn't had a hefty workload before. I know 17 to 16 wasn't, but he's had the big-time carries before.
And you were reading off which year?
2017 in the final.
Yeah. And then this past year was his last 4 games, 17 carries, 33, 21, and then 16. So
it's almost like a mirror.
Yeah. So you're not a believer?
Oh, no.
I mean, just at least as far
as...
as...
I was reading off last year.
You were... so we just were both right off last year. There you go. Cheers to Montauk Whiskey.
But in 2017, he did have 28 carries in the final game of the year. Yeah, so just because they gave him a good workload in 2 out of the final 4 games, I'm not convinced.
Sorry, I'm just answering somebody on Periscope here. They mentioned the fact that that Dion Lewis is there, which is very much a fact. But that didn't seem to bother Derrick Henry much towards the end of last year. So, but it should be something that's taken into account, of course. Listen, we are doing a little bit of this or that, though, so we may as well mention or either or. There is Kerryon Johnson, who we were going to mention as well. He's kind of an interesting case. In 10 games, Kerryon Johnson finished as the number 33 running back. He did have some injuries that ended his rookie campaign. Averaging his per-game scoring over a 16-game slate, Johnson would have finished as the 16th best running back. And I know that's always an easy thing to say, average a guy's numbers over 16. Nevertheless, he didn't play 16. But there's talent to be had there. The thing that I find confusing here about Kerryon, we discussed just now a lot about workload and Derrick Henry. Well, there's been some conflicting reports on Kerryon Johnson. Shortly after the season last year, maybe at the start of 2019, Matt Patricia had stated that there would be a limit on touches for Kerryon Johnson, which seems kind of confusing, seeing that he's as young as he is. But yesterday, the Lions running back coach, Ryan Kasky, came out and said that there's no one setting a number on Kerryon Johnson. So, also, for what it's worth, Detroit Free Press is predicting that Kerryon Johnson will catch at least 60 passes in 2019. Seems to me like Theo Riddick is going to have to not be on the roster in order for that to happen. But so, Anthony, Kerryon Johnson, who do you trust, Matt Patricia or the Lions running back coach?
Considering they also signed C.J. Anderson, you already have Theo Riddick, and I get Kerryon Johnson has all the upside in the world. But it seems to be a little bit of a crowded backfield. And I could see the Lions, considering Stafford's coming off of an off year, no more Golden Tate. I don't exactly try. I could see the Lions almost going in the direction of the Seahawks, maybe not that run heavy, but enough to where maybe you see efficient or good enough production from one or more of these backs.
Right. I think either way.
Am I off to say that?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think either way, whichever running back you go with here, I think you're putting yourself in a nice position. Mostly also because the ADPs, I feel like, especially Kerryon. But
last year they had LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah.
I would say at this point in their careers, CJ Anderson is an upgrade over LeGarrette Blount.
Agreed. And the thing I like here is we have two defensive-minded coaches that want to mold their teams into run-oriented teams. You know, whether there's going to be a number on Kerryon Johnson or not, Anthony, you mentioned it, the running back depth that they have now in Detroit, they're going to run the ball. Matthew Stafford had one of his worst years last year. Granted, he was dealing with a broken back, if I'm not mistaken. But still, I think his numbers aren't going to be what we're used to from years ago, back in the Jim Caldwell days. So I think either way, you're entering a good situation as far as a team that's committed to running. If me personally, I'm going to go with Derrick Henry here. Currently in my rankings, which if you go to gridironexperts.com, you can check out our ever-evolving rankings. I currently have Henry ranked as the 16th running back. I have Kerryon ranked as the 18th, so I'm pretty close on the two of them. But I'm going to go Derrick Henry. Anthony, who are you siding with here?
It's tough.
Yeah.
And despite the additions of, C.J. Anderson and the presence of Theo Riddick, I think I'm going to lean Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson, number 6 running back in true yards per carry at 5 yards a carry and an actual 5.4 yards per carry, 15th in yards per touch at 5.7. 28th in breakaway runs. He's elusive. He can catch the football. They can use him in various ways, whereas in passing situations, right, Derrick Henry's going to come off the field.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd be willing to make a bet with you, except for the fact that if Theo Riddick is not on this roster in week 1, this Lions roster, then I think Kerryon will prevail over Derrick Henry. That will change my rankings too, because then I think that report by the Detroit Free Press is very much a possibility with Kerryon Johnson catching at least 60 passes. That their prediction, at least. So we'll hold off on any potential bet. Really quick though.
Got some breaking news, right?
Yeah, well, we saw Freddie Kitchens was saying that Duke Johnson will have a role in the offense. We'll see if he's traded or not. He did hire Drew Rosenhaus. And there's also Sterling Shepard is going to be getting some x-rays on, what was that, his thumb?
His thumb. He left practice early.
All right, so there you go. So see how that goes. Golden Tate is going to be getting a little more work. And for you Evan Ingram folks, if this is obviously a legitimate serious injury. I mean,
Corey Coleman could be a thing. Probably not. Probably not.
The Giants, here's the thing with the Giants. The players that they have, like Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, Evan Ingram, they could all produce for fantasy, but if one of them goes down, that turns ugly really fast.
Well, the Giants, at receiver, I believe, have Reggie White's son. And he's wearing 13, Beckham's old number.
Is that true? That's a true story?
That's a fact.
Well, that's a fact. Okay. There you go. Learn something new every day. All right. Anthony, next one we'll get into here. Tyler Boyd or Robby Anderson. Tyler Boyd, fresh off of his 4-year, $43 million extension this week, which, by the way, he's getting picked with the 5th pick in the 6th round. Not too far behind him is Mr. Robby Anderson, 8th pick of the 6th round. Boyd finished 17th amongst wide receivers in just 14 games. Anderson finishes the 35th best receiver in 14 games. The biggest gap here for them two is not touchdowns. Boyd had 7, Anderson had 6, but the yards. Boyd finished with 1,028 yards to Robby Anderson's 752. So, Anthony, I'll kind of let you take over on this one. Is there a player here that you're siding with, one more than the other?
It's tough. Tyler Boyd is the wide receiver 2 on his team. Robby Anderson is the wide receiver 1. You can make the case that and as much as I like Andy Dalton, Sam Darnold's upside is probably a little bit higher. He's expected to be the better quarterback. He was one of the more efficient quarterbacks in the final quarter of the season last year, and he could take that second-year leap. I think I'm going to buy Robby Anderson here, like I seem to do every single season.
You do, and I'm kind of surprised by that. Not,
Why?
And this is not a slight at Robby Anderson. I'll tell you, because you've been very much a Bengals pom-pom guy this offseason. You're expecting big things. You love your boy Andy Dalton. So a little surprised, but not too surprised. Again, these guys are close for a reason.
I'm a red zone guy, and we know in Cincinnati, A.J. Green and Tyler Eifert, when healthy, they dominate those red zone targets, whereas Robby Anderson finished as the 8th receiver with a 39.3% end zone target share on 11 end zone targets.
I'll say this much, though. I think I'm still going to go Boyd here. And I say that only because how I talked about the yardage. And by the way, receptions, I failed to mention Boyd with 76, Anderson with 50. I think Robby Anderson is very much he's going to be very much your big play receiver on that Jets team. Anthony alluded to the red zone. So I think there's a potential there for some boomer bust games. I think Tyler Boyd will be a little more consistent. He'll get you some more yards. Could worry about the touchdowns. I know he finished with 7 last year, one more than Anderson. But if he could fall short anywhere, I would think it would be the touchdowns. But I like the yards. I like the receptions. Half-point league, I'd go Boyd.
See, I'm going to go, Robby Anderson. You mentioned he's a big play threat. He was the number 11 receiver in total target distance, number 9 receiver in average target distance, 25th with 15 yards per reception, and the 10th receiver in target quality rating.
Mm-hmm.
If this all comes together for the Jets, if Le'Veon Bell can get going a little bit, and
you
those
mean,
passing lanes are open for Sam Darnold.
Right. Are you referring to the 500 touches for Le'Veon Bell?
Oh, I mean, Le'Veon Bell, 500 touches. Julio Jones, 3,000 yards. Amari Cooper, 2,000 yards.
Cats and dogs living together.
They playing too much Madden.
Yeah, evidently.
They playing too much Madden. Really?
All right. How about a friendly bet? Tyler Boyd versus Robby Anderson.
Yeah,
close bet.
Another bet.
Yeah.
I don't have my pen handy, but we have Robby versus Boyd.
I've got a pen.
And then we have Jordan Matthews.
I've got a pen and notepad.
We have a Google Doc sheet that I logged these bets on.
We do. Have you been?
I have, I believe.
Thank God. Hopefully. Maybe. If not, we'll have to visit the old memory bank. So, okay. Either way, I'm going with Tyler Boyd. Anthony is going with Robby Anderson. Take that for what you will. But let's move on now to our next discussion. Again, 2 wide receivers. Both have kind of been the flavor of the week here as we've been in the NFL offseason. Dante Pettis of the 49ers going with the 12th pick in the 6th round. Christian Kirk of the Arizona Cardinals going with the 5th pick in the 7th round. For what it's worth, in my projections, I have Pettis having a better year than Christian Kirk. That being said, I want to mention, I talked about Robby Anderson being a boomer bust. I think you're going to get that out of Dante Pettis. I think you're going to have some games where you're a genius for drafting him. And then I think you're going to have some games that are just going to be downright frustrating. And it's not a negative mark for Dante Pettis as much as it is. I think that offense is, as much as folks are enamored with a Kyle Shanahan offense and as friendly as it could be to fantasy in the past, I don't think Kyle Shanahan gives diddly squat, or 2 shits, as I say, about fantasy football, about our fantasy football rosters. And I think it's going to get a little hairy sometimes. I think you're going to get a good game out of Trent Taylor, a good game out of Deebo, good game out of Kittle. So with the way they're going to spread the ball around in that offense, I don't think we're going to see Dante Pettis be dominant for a majority of the season.
See, we saw Dante Pettis when he began coming into his own.
Right.
From, weeks 12 to 15, he finished as in fantasy, wide receiver 20, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 23, wide receiver 22. So he can put up those consistent numbers. And he did that with small dick Nick Mullins.
It's not right.
What?
Why was he small dick Nick Mullins again?
Well, I explained this, and we have the clip.
Yeah, unfortunately, I forgot.
You have Big Dick Nick Foles winning Super Bowls and Small Dick Nick Mullins winning a couple games and getting a little bit of hype because he beat the Raiders on Thursday Night Football, whatever it was.
He's got a cute wife, though. So
does he? Good for him.
Yeah, he does.
Hope
he does, and
pleased.
Yes, good for him. Love of God. I think Christian Kirk is going to be more of a consistent producer for fantasy than Pettis will. Kirk finished 4th in targets amongst a very anemic offense there in Arizona. But obviously things are going to be much different this year. They may not win a lot of games, but gosh darn it, they're going to run a lot of offensive snaps. So I think that bodes well for you if you're a Christian Kirk believer. I'll ultimately side with Pettis because, again, I do have him projected to score more points. But, again, I think he's going to be a little frustrating at times to own, that being Dante Pettis. So, Anthony, anything else here you want to mention about Christian Kirk, or do you have a pick here as far as who you like more?
It's tough because I like both of these players. I actually have that grouping of Robby Anderson, Christian Kirk, and Dante Pettis all together. I have Dante Pettis ahead of all of them, followed by Christian Kirk and then Robby Anderson, as much as I like Robby Anderson.
Okay.
But out of these two, I'm going to side with Dante Pettis, but both of these players should be productive. For Christian Kirk, it all depends on what we get out of Kyler Murray.
Right.
We saw Kirk flash a little bit with Josh Rosen last season. But if Kyler Murray plays like some believe he will play, and the Arizona offense is going to do a complete 180, then Christian Kirk should thrive. But I'm still going to roll with Dante Pettis, purely for the reason of there's just not a lot of pass catchers on your 49ers that are reliable. And at least we know for a 4-game stretch that Dante Pettis put up numbers. Whereas Christian Kirk, you have David Johnson, you have, the two rookies, Andy Isabella and Hakeem Butler, who probably won't see the field. Larry Fitzgerald, of course. I think there will be, a little bit more opportunity for Dante Pettis.
Yeah, and I also want to mention, I said earlier at the top of the show, I think Deebo Samuel is going to be a guy. He's going to start slow. He's going to break late. So I think that may also eat into Pettis, but we'll see. We'll see how often Jimmy Garoppolo is throwing the ball downfield, or if he's going to be like his former teammate Tom Brady and just dink and dunk the 49ers, hopefully through the red zone and into the end zone. All right, so there you go. So we'll both go with Pettis, for better or for worse, even though we kind of disagree on the consistency of Pettis. Anthony, next one we'll mention is actually another two of your guys. One of them, Trey Burton of the Chicago Bears. The other being Austin Hooper of the Atlanta Falcons. Trey Burton is going with the 9th pick in the 10th round. Austin Hooper, to me, which almost seems criminal, is going with the 8th pick in the 12th round. We could call Austin Hooper the Rodney Dangerfield of tight ends, because he gets no respect. Can we do that? Can we make that happen?
We could.
Okay, let's make that a thing before somebody else does in this saturated market. both tight ends did finish close to one another last year. While Trey Burton, to me, was frustrating, and Anthony, I'm sure you'll be able to speak to that because you rostered him quite a bit last year. Burton finished as the number 7 tight end. Austin Hooper finished as number 6, so one spot in front of them. They were actually separated in half-point formats by less than a point.
Wow.
So, I mean, to me, a big thing here, and I understand the defense was injured a lot last year for the Atlanta Falcons, and that led to them being 4th in the league in passing. So, while I don't know if Matt Ryan is going to be putting the pedal to the floor and throwing the ball 10 million times a game, the Bears were ranked 21st in passing offense. And I don't see that making a huge switch. And I know they finished close. I think I'd still side with Austin Hooper here. We've heard a lot of good things about Austin Hooper coming out of camp, coming out of OTAs and going into camp. Anthony, again, I mentioned these are kind of both your guys. How you feeling here?
I like both players, but because of price, Trey Burton is usually the player I'm targeting because he could fall in drafts. And that's how I've been handling the tight end position. I'm usually getting the guy that falls, and 9 times out of 10, it's Trey Burton.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the Bears passing more, but that's okay. Because what do we know about Mitchell Trubisky? Seems to struggle throwing to the outside, which means Trey Burton will be busy. Anthony Miller will be busy.
Yes.
I'm fading Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
On the other hand, with Austin Hooper, he was able to thrive as well as Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and even Mohamed Sanu last year. Why? Because the Falcons passed the ball the 5th most times in the league in terms of team pass plays per game. Why? Well, the defense was terrible. The defense was banged up. What's different? The defense is now healthy. The Falcons also addressed their interior offensive line, which suggests they're going to run the ball. So we could see a little bit of a regression from somebody. Will it be Austin Hooper? Will it be Calvin Ridley? It's not going to be Julio Jones. But I can definitely see the Falcons passing a little bit less, committing more to the run, and somebody's going to fall. So that's the one red flag I have with Austin Hooper.
Yeah, Austin Hooper, by the way, is entering a contract year. About a week or so ago was reported by Dan Quinn was reported saying that Hooper is ready to go to another level, for whatever that's worth. And also it should be noted that Hooper did not participate in minicamp, despite the reports that they think he can go to another level. Because of an ankle injury, he's expected to be fine now for training camp, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. The other thing I want to mention, and listen, I know we should take this with a grain of salt. This tends to upset a lot of people when you talk about stuff like this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Godfather, Gridiron Experts, Mike Riggs, I believe he's not a fan of this, if I'm not mistaken. But points allowed by defenses to positions the year prior. While you want to take that with a grain of salt, I want to just mention that both the Panthers and the Buccaneers, which obviously, in case you're not aware, are in the division with Austin Hooper and the Falcons, they were both in the top 10 in points allowed to the tight end. The Packers, the Vikings, the Lions were in the top 15 of fewest points allowed to the tight end position. So take that for what you will. Obviously, we know the results of how these guys did despite that. So, but I just want to throw that out there just for shits and giggles. Ultimately, I'm going to go with Austin Hooper here. 5 games of 50 yards or more last year to Trey Burton's 3. I think it'll be close again, but I'm going to go with Austin Hooper. Anthony, you're going to go with Trey Burton?
Yeah, I'm going to go with so what are we choosing? What player I'm going to take or the player who's going to perform the best? Because like I said, I'm going to take Burton. These two players are so close. They finish so close that I'm going to buy the cheaper one. I'm going to buy whatever one that falls.
Well, Hooper's ADP is lower than Burton. Hooper has an ADP right now, based on half-point scoring on Fantasy Football Calculator. He's going with the 8th pick in the 12th round. Or that being Austin Hooper. Trey Burton's going with the 9th pick in the 10th round. So technically,
see, I have a different ADP in front of me. I have full point.
Okay. Well, do half point, goddammit. Half point's the official scoring
And
format of
Burton's
the FF
going,
Faceoff.
yeah, and full points going 6th and the 13th. 6th pick in the
All right.
13th round.
How
And
about
Hooper's
this?
going 5th and the 10th.
Okay. Forget about all Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my, rounds, ADPs, half point, full point. Just, I'll bet you that Austin Hooper has a better year at half point formats than Trey Burton.
I will take you up on the bet because I believe people are sleeping on Trey Burton. You got to remember, Trey Burton, like last year, it was his first year as a starting tight end. First year on the new team.
Yeah.
First year with Mitchell Trubisky. Austin Hooper's been around for a while.
Right, and during his contract year. Yeah, again, a lot of these things aren't slaps in the face to the players I'm not choosing. These guys are close. A lot of these guys that we're mentioning are close in their ADPs.
Now,
I'm just going to go Austin Hooper here.
Now,
I think both have good years. What do you got?
We have a YouTube live chat going on, and Philip wants us to grade his team.
Sure.
Quarterbacks. Now, this is, let me double check, a super flex league, Dynasty Super Flex, half point PPR, big money league. So he wants to know how he thinks he will fare.
Okay.
Quarterbacks, Rodgers and Ryan. Running backs, David Johnson, Devonta Freeman, David Montgomery, Penny, Royce Freeman, Latavius Murray. Wow. I love those backs. I'm really buying into Latavius Murray.
I'm buying into it too, but let's hear the rest of the roster. I'm buying into Devonta Freeman for what it's worth.
Mike Evans.
Okay.
Allen Robinson, who you know I'm not a big Allen Robinson fan.
Yeah, you lost me there. Keep going.
Alshon Jeffrey. Deshaun Hamilton. A.J. Brown, who I believe was a little bit overrated. David Njoku, Gesicki, Gerald Everett. And then he also has David Moore and Josh Reynolds at receiver.
So clearly he focused on running backs and quarterbacks, for that matter. Super flex league, so he's got Ryan and Rodgers. That's pretty darn good. I like his team. I think he's okay. I think wide receiver is weak, and he's got some question marks at tight end. But I like it. I like the top of his running back depth chart. I like how he rounds it out with Latavius Murray as well.
All those running backs.
Yeah. So, all right. So we say he did a pretty good job, right?
Yeah, I would think that this is a competitive playoff team.
I would think so, too.
If one of his tight ends show up, whether it's Gesicki or Njoku, that can put him over the top. At receiver, Phil.
Big Phil.
Mike Evans is legit.
Yep.
Allen Robinson, I'm worried about, but you probably don't have to roll with him every week. You have an Alshon Jeffrey.
I like Alshon Jeffrey this year. I do.
Deshaun Hamilton could be the most productive receiver in Denver because I'm not a big Cortland Sutton guy.
Yeah, but Anthony's got Joe Flacco thrown to him, so that right there's a negative, right? No good.
Watch. We have a Flacco bet. That
I will watch.
You bet what? That Drew Lock's going to start the games? You have the coach saying it looks like a pitcher.
Well, I made the bet
like
prior. I made the bet prior to the comments. I'll still stand by it. Joe Flacco's a walking mess. Anyway, all right. Anything else to talk about with Phil's team, or should we move on to our last either or this or that, or tomato?
What was the question?
I'm asking you, do we have anything else to discuss with Phil's team?
No,
or did you want to move on to our final two players?
We can move on to the final portion.
All right, final portion here. And listen, I think we all know where Anthony's going to go here. Probably. We'll see. Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys or Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings. Prescott is currently going with the 10th pick of the 11th round. Kirk Cousins is going with the 6th pick of the 13th. Dak Prescott last year finished 10th amongst quarterbacks. Cousins finished 12th. Last year, Cousins had an ADP of the 8th round, 5th pick of the 8th round. And I believe he was the 9th quarterback off the board. Last year, Prescott was in the 13th round. So both these quarterbacks are moving. Both these quarterbacks are going opposite directions, I should say. Cousins moving backwards. Prescott moving a little bit forward. Fairly consistent, both of these guys. Cousins had 7 games in the top 10 to Prescott's 6. Anthony, if anything jumps out at me here, it's the fact that, listen, we know Mike Zimmer did not enjoy, even though they spent $84 million guaranteed on Kirk Cousins, he did not enjoy being a pass-happy offense to the point where the offensive coordinator was gone before the end of the season. We expect a little bit more of a run balance here this year. How much do you think that hurts Kirk Cousins in this particular debate?
Kirk Cousins is going to produce.
Yeah.
Especially with those weapons at receiver. When you're talking about my guy, Stephon Diggs, and your guy, Adam Thielen.
Damn straight.
They have those tight ends. Dalvin Cook, if he stays on the field, he's going to be explosive in the passing game. There's not a lack of weapons. I do see the Minnesota Vikings trying to commit to the run a little bit more. As, you know, they were number 6 in team pass plays per game. Cousins, 4th in attempts. All that being said, if you look at Dak Prescott, he was a different player post-Amari Cooper, which has been the offseason narrative, and is pretty obvious. Dak Prescott, if you look at what he brings with his rushing opportunity and productivity, 5th in carries, 6th in carries per game, 4th in red zone carries, 4th in red zone carries per game, 9th in rushing yards, 9th in rush yards per game, and 2nd in touchdowns with 6. 6 rushing touchdowns in each of his first 3 seasons in the NFL. And that's a deal breaker. When you have a player like Dak Prescott with the supporting cast, I mean, we're not talking about Lamar Jackson. I like Lamar Jackson, and I like Josh Allen. But they don't have Ezekiel Elliott, Randall Cobb, and Amari Cooper. And now you want to throw Jason Witten in the mix, who's going to extend drives. He's going to get first downs, and he's going to be featured in the red zone. Dak Prescott could be a top 6 to 8 quarterback in 2019.
Okay.
I mean, he's finished as a QB1 every year so far. His rookie year, I believe, QB6, QB4.
You have him top 6 quarterback, huh?
That's the upside. That's the upside, Mike.
That's the upside. Your rankings are current on gridironexperts.com?
It should be.
Okay.
Absolutely. I just did it the other day again.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're in tiers. I don't know if you can see the tiers on Gridiron Experts, but
no, you can't see the tiers on Gridiron Experts. But you have him as of the 22nd, Monday. So you have Kirk Cousins ranked as the 11th quarterback, number 11. I have him ranked as number 13th. So there you go. I have Kirk Cousins as 19.
You just said I had Kirk Cousins, so you're talking about Dak.
I have Dak. I apologize. Yeah, I was already thinking about going past. So yeah, Dak Prescott, you have him as 11. I have him as 13. Then Kirk Cousins. Sorry about that. You have him at 14. I have him at 19. So clearly our answers here are both going to be in favor of Dak Prescott here. And I lean a lot of that too to the rushing ability of Dak Prescott. I don't think that's going to go away. I think it'd be interesting if he gets another 6 touchdowns again and makes it 4 straight years with 6 touchdowns. But yeah, I like Dak Prescott this year. I think it's a little bit ambitious, though, to say top 6 quarterbacks. I'd be willing to make a bet if you want to. But I will say this, that he's a guy that finishes as a QB1, but a lot of people don't always expect him to. I feel like he gets disrespected a lot here. I mean, actually, Anthony, you're not even – I'm saying Dak gets disrespected.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, I'm saying he gets disrespected. I mean, he's got some solid rankings here on gridironexperts.com. Zach Grubel has him ranked as the 10th best quarterback. Mike Riggs has him ranked as 14. So right around that 10 to 14 range is what we're looking at here across the board. Either way, we're going to give Prescott the edge over Cousins, right?
And I am.
Yeah.
And you also have to factor in the offensive line could take a leap back into the top 3 because Travis Frederick is good to go. They're all pro center who was not there last year. And if Travis Frederick was there, could be talking about the Cowboys as Super Bowl champions because if you watched the NFC game against the Rams in the playoffs, Sue and Donald dominated the line of scrimmage where Travis Frederick would have been.
Okay. Well, listen, I knew you'd find a way, talking about Dak Prescott, I knew you'd find a way to weasel the Cowboys into the Super Bowl. I still say divisional round exit. That's what I always say about the Cowboys. And somehow I usually turn out to be right. So I'll go with that again this year. Anthony, all right, so we're both going to go Dak Prescott over Kirk Cousins, although we both expect both players to produce for your fantasy football team. Anthony, I think that's going to do it for our players. We should just we should remind the folks before you go off into your final spiel. I would like to just remind the folks that, again, we do have phone lines open now, which is very exciting. Anthony's very excited. Maybe we'll get a show going soon where we'll specifically just do calls. And again, if you want to call us about fantasy football, NFL, even if you just have a fun random question to ask, we'll answer it. We'll have a good time with it. We want to make this, we always say that we do this show for you guys. So why wouldn't we welcome you in with open arms? So make yourself at home, have some class. The phone number is 845-535-9962.
Yeah, and we're going to put this all over social media. And we're going to start letting you know when we're coming on live, do a better job at that, because now it matters. You know, the chat in YouTube has been getting going a little bit, which is awesome. Very excited about, you know, everything that's going on. You know, pretty soon it's going to be our 3-year anniversary, and we will release the first episode all over again. So you can, you know,
sound like we're recording from a library, but you know, whatever. It'll be good for a laugh if nothing else. So, or you'll also hear me talk about Pat Mahomes starting over Alex Smith, and we make a bet on that. So that worked out in my favor. Anthony, anything to mention before we ride off into the sunset?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're listening right now in podcast format, especially you Apple Podcast users, please subscribe to the show. Please leave us a 5-star rating and a 5-star review telling everyone why you love the FF Faceoff and why we are the best damn fantasy football podcast on the planet where fantasy meets reality. Because the more subscriptions, ratings, and reviews that we get, the more people we can reach. And in the end, we want to help each and every one of you win fantasy football championships, dominate your leagues, and absolutely positively crush the competition. We will maintain the culture of winning we've built here in the FF Faceoff for almost 3 years since our inception and over 210 episodes strong. Mike, as always, take us home.
Good stuff. I like this episode. Good show. Good fun show. Anthony, also, on a nice fun parting shot I'd like to let you know about. We, as of right now, we have not gotten a thumbs down on this YouTube video. So, there you go.
You just jinxed us, Mike.
What do you mean? What's the matter? We're doing great. We're having a good time. All right, whatever. Let's get going anyway. We'll get the thumbs down and we'll address it later. But again, folks, thanks for listening. Don't forget that phone line, 1-845.
You know what? I would like, if anybody's listening,
oh God,
and is going to give us a thumbs down, do us a favor next time. 845-535-9962. Give us a call. Let's talk.
Do you want to get, because Anthony's convinced that this person who's giving us a thumbs down, we're getting consistently one thumbs down. Anthony's convinced that this is just one lone man or woman.
Give us a call.
He wants to call you out. So call the show.
Let's talk.
Let's talk. Yeah, talk. Okay. You want to talk?
Why not?
That's going to be fun. Hey, listen, if that's not reason enough to listen to this show, I don't know what is. There's also fantasy content. But guys, thanks for listening. Have a safe weekend if we don't get to you guys until then. Be safe. Enjoy one another. Stay thirsty. Cheers.
Can't believe it.
That Gerald is presenting the quarterly budget report with finger puppets?
Look, here comes a 1.7% decrease in fixed overhead. Hello, everybody.
No, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my car insurance with Geico.
Who are you? The projected increase in organic Q3 revenue. Hooray!
Believe it, Geico could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
At Ocean State Job Lot, we have everything for the beach and pool. We carry over 120 pool chemicals at spectacular prices. A gallon of liquid shock or a pound of powder shock is just $2.99. We have over 100 pool accessories, over 75 pool inflatables. Plus, we have lots of pools from $25 to $750. Looking for sun care? Get your favorite brands at 40% savings. Get everything you need for summer at Ocean State Job Lot.